Welcome back, history buffs! Today we're diving headfirst into the twisted world of ancient Roman justice. A world where unfaithful wives faced punishment so draconian they'd make modern relationship drama look like a walk in the park. If you think a Twitter scandal is bad, just wait until you hear what happened when the Romans caught wind of infidelity. Spoiler alert, it involved donkeys, public humiliation, and a lot of very angry mobs. Stay till the end. We always save the best bits for last. Ready to cringe? Let's get started. Kato the Elder's Draconian View. Our first stop in this whirlwind tour of Roman madness brings us to the doorstep of Kato the Elder, a man whose idea of marital justice was, well, let's just say it was less Dr. Phil and more Judge Dredd. Kato declared that if a husband caught his wife cheating, he could kill her on the spot. No trial, no jury, just straight-up Roman justice. But wait, it gets better. Or worse, depending on your perspective. If a wife caught her husband cheating, she was expected to turn the other cheek and maybe knit him a nice toga as an apology for interrupting his fun. I guess there were no Lorena Bobbits hanging about in Rome at that time. Now, talk about a double standard. Imagine trying to explain that logic in today's world. It's like ancient Rome's version of a get-out-of-jail-free card, but only if you're a dude.
Bro, she caught you cheating. I know, but I'm a dude, man. Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh yes, you're the gold standard of moral turpitude, aren't you? Moving on. Naked on a donkey. Now, if you thought public shaming on social media was brutal, let me introduce you to ancient Rome's most humiliating punishment, riding a donkey through the streets. But not just any donkey ride, mind you. We're talking about being stripped naked, placed backward on a donkey, and paraded through town while everyone, and I do mean everyone, pointed and laughed. The donkey wasn't just a mode of transportation. It was a symbol of shame, reserved for those who had fallen from grace, like prostitutes and adulterous women. Could you handle that level of public embarrassment? It's like being the main character in the world's worst reality show. But there's no cash prize at the end, just lifelong humiliation. Professional loophole. But where there's a draconian law, there's always someone looking for a loophole, right? Some clever Roman women found a way to dodge the harsh penalties for adultery by registering as professional prostitutes. Why? Because prostitutes were exempt from the penalties for cheating. Talk about finding a loophole in the legal system. Imagine the logic here. It's not adultery. I'm just on the job. It's like the ancient Roman version of legal gymnastics. But of course the Roman Senate wasn't having any of that and quickly banned middle-class women from using this loophole. It's almost like they invented a "no cheating allowed" sign with a fine print that says, "No, seriously, we mean it this time." The Lex Julia de Adulteress. As if things weren't already tough enough for unfaithful wives, along came Emperor Augustus with his Lex Julia de Adulteres, a law that tightened the noose even further. Under this act, fathers were granted the right to kill their daughters if caught in the act of adultery, while husbands had slightly fewer rights. Go figure. Can you imagine living under such extreme laws? It's like the harshest relationship contract ever written, with clauses that would make even the strictest prenuptial agreement look like a love letter. If Augustus were around today, he'd probably be a divorce lawyer with a reputation for making ironclad contracts that nobody wants to sign. Pimping by proxy. But wait, there's more. Husbands who didn't immediately divorce their unfaithful wives could be accused of Linium, essentially pimping by proxy. That's right, if you didn't kick your cheating wife to the curb fast enough, the law might just label you a pimp, and we all know it's hard being a pimp. Talk about adding insult to injury. Picture the pressure. You catch your wife cheating, and now you're legally obligated to dump her or risk being labeled as Rome's sleaziest husband. It's like being stuck between a rock and a hard place, where your rock is your crumbling marriage, and the hard place is a judge with a penchant for making examples out of slowpokes. Adulteress's fate. As time marched on, Rome decided that maybe the whole death penalty for adultery thing was a bit too much. So they swapped it out for banishment and the confiscation of property. Convicted adulteresses lost half their dowry, a third of their property, and were barred from remarrying. In other words, they were financially ruined and socially ostracized. Yay, progress! Could you survive losing everything for one mistake? It's like ancient Rome's version of no mercy divorce settlement, where you walk away with nothing but just the clothes on your back, if you're lucky. And just to rub salt in the wound, you're also barred from ever getting married again. It's like the ultimate "you're not welcome here" sign, but for your entire future. Double standards galore. Let's not forget the glaring double standards of the time. Men faced little to no consequences for their infidelity, while women were practically crucified for it. In Rome, a man could have his fun, and as long as he wasn't too blatant about it, nobody cared. But a woman, one slip up and it was game over. Imagine the outrage if those laws existed today. Rome would be trending on Twitter for all the wrong reasons. The hashtag Roman double standards would be blowing up, with people debating whether the ancients had any idea what fairness meant. Spoiler alert, they didn't. It's like Rome invented the phrase, "It's a man's world, but with a lot more toga parties and fewer apologies." Right, lads? Trial by public opinion. In addition to all the legal penalties, adulterous women were often subjected to the wrath of an angry crowd. Public shaming was a favorite pastime in Rome, and if you were caught cheating, you could find yourself at the mercy of a mob. No, not that mob. Yes, that's the one, that mob. Yes, you'd be forced to obey their demands or face even worse consequences. Could you survive the wrath of an ancient Roman crowd? It's like getting roasted in the public square, but instead of snarky tweets, you're dodging rotten fruit and sharp insults. Trial by public opinion in Rome wasn't just a figure of speech. It was a brutal reality. Imagine today's cancel culture, but with actual pitchforks and torches. Yikes! A special insult. Let's revisit the infamous donkey ride for a moment, because it wasn't just about public humiliation. It was about complete social disgrace. The donkey, often considered a lowly and stubborn animal, was the perfect symbol of someone who had hit rock bottom. Riding a donkey through the city was reserved for those considered the lowest of the low. Imagine today's equivalent, like being paraded down the street with a neon sign flashing "Scarlet Letter" above your head. It wasn't just a punishment, it was a statement to the entire city that you were beyond redemption. And trust me, in a city as gossip-hungry as Rome, that reputation stuck with you like glue. Funny how Lady Godiva's ride through Coventry sans clothing had quite the opposite effect. It's a funny old world, isn't it? Financial ruin. Finally, let's talk about the financial side of things. Because in Rome, if you were caught cheating, you didn't just lose your dignity, you lost your money too. Convicted adulteresses faced the confiscation of significant portions of their dowry and property, ensuring that they were financially ruined. Could you bounce back from losing everything? It's like ancient Rome's version of bankruptcy, but with no chance of rebuilding your credit. Once you were out for good, socially, financially, and in every other way that mattered. It's a harsh reminder that in ancient Rome, one mistake could cost you everything. So what have we got today? In ancient Rome, the stakes of marital fidelity were sky high, and the punishments were as brutal as they come. From donkey rides to financial ruin, unfaithful wives faced a gauntlet of public and legal humiliations that make modern relationship woes look like a day at the spa. But here's the kicker. While the methods have changed, the double standards and public shaming aren't as far removed from today's world as we'd like to think. Sure, we've swapped the donkey for Twitter, but the idea of social punishment is still very much alive and kicking. If you've enjoyed this dive into the darker side of ancient Roman justice, click here and see how men decorated their cocks. And I don't mean roosters. Don't forget to stick around. We've got plenty more historical hilarity and jaw-dropping facts coming your way. Until next time, keep those togas tied tight, and remember, Rome wasn't just built on stone, but on some seriously strict relationship rules. Thanks for watching, and remember folks, when it comes to love and war, Rome had no mercy, and neither does history.